Professor Kancha Ilaiah, friends Vasumati and Manikanta, friends in the audience. Jai Hind to all. At the outset, I congratulate and thank the All India OBC Student Organization for organizing this wonderful book discussion on the right occasion, BP Mandal's anniversary. I actually grew up witnessing Mandal Commission movement. I was in my undergraduation, and I was actually in the fourth man. The movement affected my studies so much and so much. Okay. So, and when we asked our BC, OBC, now it is called OBC, students to come out, boycott classes, participate, hartals, they used to say, we don't want reservation. Okay. And they refused to come out from the classes. And it was we, SC, ST students, taking lathi charges on the streets. Of course, later on, a lot of things have changed. Of course, there are wonderful studies on merit and meritocracy. You must read Satish Deshpande and Dr. Subramanian's works. But one thing with the Mandal Commission is first time India was divided into two, quota and non-quota paper. That was a wonderful thing actually happened with Mandal movement in this country. Then the Savarnas realized the power of Mandal Commission, and they immediately brought this commandal politics that was destruction of brahminism. So then we all became again once again Hindus, and organized, mobilized, and we could actually push the throw the Mandal spirit in us. Okay? We are actually still in that drama. So what actually Professor Kancha Ilaiah tells us in this book is that we are still in mental slavery. You have to come out from that slavery. Unless you come out from that slavery, we cannot liberate ourselves. I have again very inspiring and fun moments with Professor Kancha Ilaiah. When I joined Usmania University in 1997, his path-breaking book, Why I'm Not a Hindu, just came to market. That was 1996. And many of our colleagues used to disassociate with Kancha because it's seen as most controversial scholar. What is controversial? Ilaiah thinks out of the basket. Unlike any professional scholar, he thinks completely different. Thinks outside the class, outside the nation, and that is seen as controversial. And it say therefore controversial is dangerous. So even now, he's seen as a very dangerous mind. So having said this, but now a lot of students and educated from downtrodden communities are reading And a lot of churning is also happening. So, a lot of debates, actually, there were occasions when he turns, huge, waves, in the reverse. So, not want to go into all these things. Coming to this book means it's really I enjoyed reading the whole text, and I'm a historian. Okay, looking at the Shudra rebellion, the term, the catchy word rebellion. I was looking for the rebellion in the book. So, and I didn't accept this dark peasants rebellion. I don't find any rebellious thing in the book. Then at the end of the after reading the book, I realized that this is basically Kancha Ilaiah Shepherd. This is literally, so I mean, it's like Ilaiah has its own way of saying things. So he is actually rebellion means against a brahminical hegemony and domination and caste system, the Savarna system. So basically it is his rebellion. And I don't know who picked up this cover page. It's really very, very catchy and very powerful. And you can see the fight between buffalo and cow. And all through the text, the fight actually runs. The fight runs very, very nuanced way. So, and the other very young students and academician, and we always look for categories, categories of social, categories of analytical tools. Fact that Shudra as a social category has been there, and we have been studying and discussing this. But first time, Ilaiah brings this as an analytical category. I haven't seen any books where Shudra is used as an analytical category. So in terms of methodology, it's actually a new tool for us. Of course, there are problems in using Sudras. Who are the Sudras? Today, when we say Sudra, so many communities are now actually brought under this category. Okay. So you have like Brahmin, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Sudra castes. So I'm a history students, and we teach our students about this Varnasma, system, and all that. And in a way, we have been fooling to our students. They say there is a category called Kshatriya. If you see, Indian dynasties, rulers, there is none who comes from Kshatriya Varna. Kshatriya Varna is a mythical category. You find only in Puranic literature. You tell me, name one dynasty who comes from actually Kshatriya Varna. Start from our first empire, the Mauryas. Either it is Shudra or Brahmin. So, but again, they were linked with this, Kshatriya, Varnas. Chandravamsha, Surya Vamsha. Then again, you also have Raghuvamsha, from which Rama comes. So, the categories of this are very, very problematic. But Shudra, I mean, as Manikanta was also saying, it's a very much political assertion. When you say, we see, the Shudra communities have been, called as a backward caste, other backward castes, and now again economically backward caste. So all kinds of terms are used, and there is actually serious problem with these kinds of administrative categories. Now we have established Dalit words for the ex-untouchable communities, and Adivasis for forest communities, and for the peasant and the service caste Sudra. And these three terms actually, I think Professor Ilaiah uses very consciously. Sudra, Dalit, Adivasi terms very categorically in the text. So it actually uses some methodological tool for accreditation. And he traces Sudras history from Harappan civilization. So there are many recent studies which actually establishes the historical roots of the indigenous people with that of the Harappan civilization. So recently there are genetic studies which also tells us the migration of the Aryans from outside India. So and here, before the Aryans migration, there were people, they had their civilization and their culture and everything, but they were very systematically brought under the Aryans domination and slavery. It was a continuous process. Initially the Aryans were in the region. From there, they migrated to Gangetic Valley and made the Gangetic Valley as India's mainland. So Gangetic Valley becomes India's what they used to call Bharatavarsha. So Bharatavarsha is today's to some extent UP and Bihar. It doesn't even cross Orissa because Karavala says you fought against the Bharatavarsha. So Bharatavarsha is basically what you call today Bharat is actually that area. Of course now, but they expand this, use this term to describe India, which is again problematic. So and this process of enslaving Sudras are now the non-Aryans, big project. The one big project Ilaiah highlights in this is creating knowledge as non-knowledge. They made knowledge as non-knowledge and vice versa. Non-knowledge as knowledge. So he discusses almost in many chapters how the Sudras were possessing very scientific knowledge and production knowledge in terms of soil, in terms of agriculture, in terms of various crafts, and all that. He actually discusses in many other texts how the production caste actually have scientific knowledge, including leather making. How it's not a simple thing converting skin into leather. It involves a lot of knowledge. Same thing with agriculture, weaving, everything. So how this knowledge, means if you take Brahmanical shastras, all these were attached with pollution. Pollution is attached to all this occupation. So whatever the work related with mud, crafts were not seen as polluted works. So by doing that, they denied knowledge, the power and potential of these crafts. And by saying that, they actually carve out their own space. Then what is knowledge? Marking the Vedas is knowledge. Okay, reproducing Vedic or Puranic literature is seen as knowledge. So this was happening very systematically from the very beginning of the Aryan migration, and we all basically gone into that kind of thought process, and that made us enslaved for a century. So if you see this book, it raises a lot of questions everywhere. In every, I think, paragraphs there is one question: why is this? Why is this? Why is this? Okay, why say like all gods have Brahmanical roots, including our Ravana. Now they are saying Ravana. Okay, so almost all the gods connected with the Brahmanism, generated from Brahma, who is the creator of again all the gods. Okay, so Vishnu, Parameshwara, all have Brahmanical approach. Then what happens to the philosophical system or belief system of the Shudras and Dalits and Adivasis? So that's a very serious question. What happened to our gods? Now, except Ram, there is no other god. Okay. Recently there was a Bonalu celebration in Hyderabad. Even in Bonalu celebration, people are saying Jai Sri Ram. I was wondering from where this Ram is coming. Okay, so almost every local gods in Telangana particularly, there are many local gods. Okay, Mallanna and Veeranna and other gods, and many mother goddesses are there. So all of them are one way or other way connected to Brahmanical pantheons of God, and they all are now appropriated to Brahmanism. So without we are not basically realizing how a new different kind of colonization or assimilation of the local gods is happening. These days I am actually working on how this process is happening in Adivasi communities. And many of the Adivasi gods are actually appropriated, assimilated into code or Brahmanical code. I should not use it. Okay, so Ilaiah actually discusses this at length in this book, how our culture, belief systems are now stolen from our homes. And other question he raises is why caste is not seen as anti-national. So the modern state is established on the basis of nation and nationalism. So, but the nationalism doesn't talk about basically anti-caste things. No nationalists going to take from national movement times. Nobody actually talk about eradication of caste. caste. It was only the Ambedkar, Pule, and other were talking, but no dominant or upper caste, particularly the Brahmins, are talking about anti-caste movement. So it was there are wonderful studies you must read by Aloysius, the Aloysius, nationalism without nation without nationalism. Okay, so the movement was actually national movement becomes more vigorous only when the lower caste started asserting themselves. Okay. So there are many such questions. And the other very important thing, Professor Ilaiah mentions in this book is, I think I should read out those lines. How basically upper caste take pride being exploited or being suppressor. He says, in my 72 years life, I have worked with many Brahmins. I have seen Brahmins who are spiritual, left or liberal. Some claim to be secular, democratic, radical or nationalist. But I have not found them to be honest reviewers of their spiritual and social history. I have not known even one Jew personally, but I have read their writings and their history. Their commitment is to physical labor, intellectual honesty, and the positive will for human equality. So, even I never observed how colonialism, there is as part of colonialism, there is this slave trade of African blacks and all that. But after colonization, the European states, they actually expressed their apology to the communities, countries. We actually feel so guilty and sorry for what we have done to this state, indigenous people, in Canada, and Australia, and America, and Africa. But I haven't seen any upper caste as a collective coming out and saying this sorry about downtrodden communities. They never actually feel any iota of regret or sorry for themselves. They actually take pride for being exploited. That is the irony of caste system. No exploiter, nobody actually behave in such a way. So Professor Ilaiah talks about how knowledge actually plays a very important role in our liberation and in our day-to-day life. Knowledge, the written knowledge, has power of liberating and also suppressing the community or so it's all depend on whose knowledge is written. If you see all our worthy documenter of all the knowledge from the ancient period, it was the Brahmins. First they had control over the Sanskrit. First that it's a literary tradition in India started in Pali and Brahmi script, which is later called Devanagari. And then when actually Buddhists were documenting their stories and histories, initially using Pali and Brahmin script, Brahmins did not actually document their literature, thinking that if you document that, then it will spread to the others. So that was the kind of understanding Brahmins had initially. But later they realized that Buddhism is spreading because they have literature, written literature. Then they started documenting. So that documentation started from Sanskrit, and then from 8th century onwards, the regional languages, Hindi had developed. No, not Hindi actually, various other local languages. Hindi was actually developed in 19th century. So, and then now during the colonial period, all this Sanskrit literature was translated into English, and they reached out to whole world. Particularly the early Indologists and Orientalists translated all the. This is very interesting. They rely on this Sanskrit literature to understand India. And the end result of this kind of colonial the production of Sanskrit literature is it produced the Brahminic India. So everything, whatever you see in the modern system, including our education institutions, built on Brahmanical values and Brahmanical ideas. So everything was institutionalized on Brahmanical values, and we are everywhere. These places are actually not for us. We feel like alienated. Everywhere you feel something unfriendly atmosphere. So you feel this, it is because of this philosophical foundation of these institutions. So what Ilaiah actually argue in this book is their hegemony over the literary knowledge actually enslaved us. So it is very important to document our histories, to reverse the Brahmanical domination. What you have to do is we all have to become actually warriors in academics. So like when I say Ilaiah Rebellion, through his pen, he is actually raising a very powerful rebellion. So unless you now Sumati was speaking from her experience very nicely. If you can document your own experiences, that's more than enough actually. You can create actually so much of awareness among your community, your community. So you need not to take a weapon and go underground. Okay? If you just use your brain and pen, you can actually bring change in society. So that's what the end. At the end, when he talks about English Revolution. Today, Professor Ilaiah and myself recognized at the global level is because of English language. Really. So you are in a very good place where you have people from various sections and very good teachers and all that. Use this opportunity, develop your language skill to reach out to the global.